Picking the best camera for wildlife photography comes down to more than megapixels. Autofocus tracking on small, fast subjects, burst speed, and how deep the buffer holds before it stalls matter far more, plus the cost of reaching distant animals. Let's break down which of these 5 fits your shooting and budget. Let's make it clear. Starting off at number 5, we kick things off with a camera that earns its spot for a smart reason: the Nikon Z52 2-lens kit. Here's why it lands on a wildlife list. It's an APS-C body, and that crop factor works in your favor. That 50-250mm zoom in the box gives you an effective reach close to 375mm. For birds in the backyard or mammals at a medium distance, that extra reach matters, and you get it without hauling a massive telephoto. The autofocus is the real story for me. It detects and tracks 9 subject types, and there's a dedicated bird mode built in. AF tracking that locks onto an eye in cluttered foliage is exactly what separates keepers from blurry misses. At this tier, having a bird-specific mode is more than I'd expect. The sensor sits at 20.9 megapixels. Now, that's lower resolution than the flagship bodies, so heavy cropping later has its limits. But for the price of entry, the image quality punches well above what people expect coming up from a phone or an older crop body. And here's what Marcus says: "I'm getting superb image quality and beautiful pictures without much editing. The 4K video is genuinely impressive too, with rich color right out of the camera. For the money, it's just fun to shoot with." When the praise keeps circling back to image quality and that 4K, I take it seriously. Now the trade-off, straight up. This isn't built for relentless birds-in-flight bursts at dawn. The buffer depth and low light ceiling don't match Nikon's higher-end full-frame line. If you shoot in deep shade or need long, sustained high FPS sequences, you'll feel those limits. But that's not a knock. It's a different use case. This is the kit for someone building toward wildlife who wants real telephoto reach, solid subject detection, and 4K video in one ready-to-go package. As a first serious step into the field, it's hard to argue with. You'll find the link in the description. Moving to number 4, we've got the Canon EOS R7 with the 18-150 kit lens. What pulls this one up the list for me is the autofocus paired with that crop sensor. Let me start with the reach, because that's where the crop sensor advantage earns its keep. The R7 multiplies your focal length by roughly 1.6, so that 18-150 zoom lands you near 240mm at the long end. For backyard birds and mammals at a medium distance, that's real telephoto reach from a single lens, no swapping in the field. Then there's the burst, 15 frames per second on the mechanical shutter, backed by the Digic X processor and a 32.5 megapixel sensor. That combination is what catches a bird mid-takeoff instead of half a second too late. And the AF tracking holds on to animals and eyes well, even against busy foliage. The 7 stops of IBIS is the part I'd underline. Handheld at long focal lengths, that stabilization is the difference between a sharp frame and a soft one when you can't lug a tripod up a ridge. Now, the catch, and it's an honest one for wildlife folks. That kit lens opens to f6.3 at the long end, so at dawn or dusk, the prime hours for animals, you're pushing ISO up or losing shutter speed. The body handles low light better than the glass does. Serious bird-in-flight shooters will eventually want a faster telephoto. But that's a trade-off, not a deal-breaker. This comes up a lot in reviews. People are genuinely surprised how sharp this kit lens is for the money, and they treat it as a real one-lens solution rather than something to replace right away. So this fits the enthusiast who wants reach, fast AF, and strong stabilization in one flexible package, with room to add longer glass later. The link is in the description. Moving to number 3, and this one shifts the whole conversation. We've got the Sony Alpha 7.5. Up to now, we've leaned on crop bodies for reach. This goes full frame, and that opens a different door. Here's the thing about full frame for wildlife. You give up some of that crop sensor reach, but you gain serious ground when the light drops. Dawn and dusk are when animals actually move, and that's where this sensor earns its keep. 33 megapixels, with up to 16 stops of dynamic range. So when you're pulling detail out of shadow at high ISO, you've got room to work that a smaller sensor just doesn't give you. Then there's the autofocus, and for me, this is the strongest argument in the body. The new processing engine runs AI subject recognition that reads body and head position, not just an eye. For a bird half hidden in branches, that's the difference between a locked frame and a hunting lens. And it tracks at up to 30 frames per second, blackout free. That's flagship tier burst for catching a takeoff. And if these comparisons are helping you sort through the options, Subscribing genuinely supports the channel and keeps these videos coming. The stabilization backs it all up. Up to 7.5 stops of IBIS, which matters more than people realize at long telephoto, where every bit of shake gets magnified. Handheld at 400 millimeters. That's what saves the shot when you can't set up a tripod fast. Now the trade-off, and it's a real one. Full frame reach costs you. To match the framing those crop bodies gave you earlier in the list, you're buying longer, pricier glass. The body sips power on long bursts too, so spare batteries are part of the plan for full field days. But this isn't built for the same buyer as the kits below it. This is for someone who shoots in tough light, wants buffer and AF that won't blink, and is ready to invest in the lens path. As a long-term wildlife system, it's hard to outgrow. The link is in the description. Moving to number 2, and this one earns its spot on autofocus alone, the Canon EOS R7 Mark II. Here's why it lands this high for wildlife. The subject detection is genuinely smart. It locks onto animals and birds, tracks the whole body, the head, the eye, and it switches between subject types on its own. For a bird ducking through branches, that sticky AF tracking is what turns a hunting lens into a keeper. Then there's the burst. Up to 40 frames per second on the electronic shutter at 20 megapixels. That's flagship tier speed for catching a takeoff or a strike you'd never time by hand. Now the sensor, 24.2 megapixels sounds modest next to the higher res bodies, but that's the point. Fewer, larger pixels mean cleaner files when you push ISO at dawn and dusk. The hours animals actually move. It stays usable deep into high ISO, where smaller sensors fall apart. And here's what Ryan says. I've put tens of thousands of frames through this body, and I just don't think about it anymore. Focus and exposure are so reliable that the camera disappears, and I'm only watching the animal. When focus becomes invisible, you shoot more freely. That tracks. The 8 stops of IBIS back it up too. Handheld at long telephoto, where every twitch gets magnified, that stabilization saves frames you'd otherwise lose. Now the trade-off. At 40 FPS on the electronic shutter, fast pans can bring rolling shutter into the picture. And being full frame, 24 megapixels leaves less room to crop hard for reach, so you'll lean on longer glass. It's built for the shooter who values clean low-light files and AF that won't blink over raw pixel count. You'll find the link in the description. Before we reveal our number 1, be sure to check out the description below for the freshest deals on each of these items. And at number 1, taking the top spot, the Sony Alpha 7 IV. After everything we've looked at, this is the one I'd call the most complete all-rounder for someone serious about wildlife. Here's why it closes the list. That 33 megapixel full-frame sensor sits in a sweet spot. You get the low-light muscle of full frame for those dawn and dusk hours, but enough resolution to crop in hard on a distant bird and still keep a usable frame. Remember, the body at number 2 ran 24 megapixels. This gives you noticeably more room to reframe after the shot, which matters when you can't get closer. The autofocus is where it earns the spot. The hybrid F with real-time tracking locks onto animals, birds, the eye, and it holds through messy backgrounds. Owners keep circling back to how dependable that subject tracking is. When the praise lands on the same thing again and again, I trust it over any spec sheet. And the low-light side is no accident. Buyers consistently point to clean, detailed files in dim conditions, with wide dynamic range and natural color straight out of camera. For wildlife, that's the difference between a shadowy mess and a keeper. Now the catch, and it's a fair one. This isn't a stacked sensor speed demon. The burst tops out around 10 frames per second on the mechanical shutter, so for relentless birds in flight sequences, the pic's built purely for speed pull ahead. There's also a known quirk. A handful of users mention overheating on long video sessions in warm conditions. The general pattern is strongly positive, so treat that as a situational thing for extended 4K clips, not your stills work. So this fits the hybrid shooter who wants one body for both pristine stills and serious video, with the cropping room and low light range to handle real field conditions. As a long-term wildlife system, it's hard to outgrow. The link is in the description. Now, you've got the criteria so you don't get burned by the first one that looks good. If you want telephoto reach on a budget, number 5 gets you started. If you shoot fast birds in flight and need clean low light files, number 2. And if you want the most complete all-rounder for serious wildlife work, number 1. Amazon prices go up and down. Check them in the links in the description.